Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, joined by Stevie Mullen. We're at half-time. It's Sarajevo 0, Celtic 0. Stevie, what do you make of that first half?
I think we should just go and get a carry out and start singing Celtic songs.
We could do that. Is there similarities between the game tonight, the way it's going, and last week?
I think they're really similar. There's 10 men behind the ball, defending 25 metres from their own penalty box, and we're trying to get up, which has left us a wee bit vulnerable in a couple of breakaways from Sarajevo. I think overall we look quite comfortable. I think we could just maybe move the ball still a bit quicker. And when sometimes the things with Ryan Christie particularly isn't coming off, but I think we just need to accept that if he's going to try and do something a wee bit different to create a chance, it's not going to work all the time.
Yeah.
When it worked like last week, when he sets up for Impong, they're great. They're not going to be there all the time, but we just need to accept that.
You're absolutely right. I think there's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks, Stevie, about stats and numbers in the game. And we do have Alan Morrison, who previously has produced stats for Axom.net and also for the podcast. And he makes that point. He makes the point that the creative players who are trying to make something happen out of nothing often craft a chance, the killer ball. A lot of the time when you look at their pass success rate, it's not as high because they are trying something different to create a chance. Christie's in that bracket, isn't he?
Definitely. If you're always going to be safe, I don't think anything's ever going to change. You can play the ball round the back 20 times and it's safe possession. Your stats are going to be 99 out of 100, just one. But if you're going to give that wee creative player, you need to accept that he's going to try and put the ball between the defenders. I would just like to see us having a few more shots in goal, because if you don't shoot, you'll never score.
There's a couple of times it seemed to open up for the likes of El Hammond, but I don't think he likes to strike for 30, 40 yards. When we're looking at the physical nature of that side, they do go in quite aggressively. It's niggle after niggle, isn't it?
Yeah, we suffered in 6 minutes. We've lost Beaton, a bad challenge to start with, which was followed up with a wee dig in the ankle, which left us one that, I think it's only 3 substitutes, so we've lost an attacking option later in the game if it's still playing 0-0. Again, I think we've got more than enough in my locker to dispose of this team. Physical, yep. So let's move the ball quicker. I don't think we're going to get any favours with the referee, because there have been some bad challenges with players that nothing's happened to, and every time they go to ground they seem to get free kicks.
I take your point from the first broadcast earlier on, Stevie, where you're saying that a lot of the play goes down the left due to the way that Ayer plays the game, brings the ball down, he goes on his gallops, but he always distributes the ball. And I think you're probably right, that's why Taylor's getting a lot of the ball. He's done quite a bit well, but again, that final killer pass isn't there.
He's making himself available, and that's brave players who make themselves available, so good on him. If he could just get a wee bit more confidence, you don't want to be horrible to him, and being a wee bit, he's good, but let him go and just play, but don't constantly cut back. If you're getting in front of the man, get it across. It's the forward's job to get in the end of crosses. It's not his job to pick a forward out. You go back to Martin O'Neill, what did you get? You put the ball in the box and it's Hartson, Sutton, Larson who gets in the end of it. You don't find him, they find the ball.
Yeah, we've mentioned Frimpong, Stevie, and how effective he's been since the last European round. And when you look at the fact, 22 minutes into the game, he looks in the mood, he's taken out. So we see it domestically. I think we've seen it a wee bit tonight as well.
Yeah, but if he stays wide, don't pull in, stay wide. The guy, stay away from him. Don't Christie or El Hammond get too close to him and let him stand that guy up. He's got the beating of him. But the more that they come over to try and help him, it's more guys that's congesting that space. Stay away and give the fullbacks, whether it's Frimpong or Taylor, the wee bit of space to run into. Don't kill the space.
Now, I think I've given him the kiss of death. I was speaking about having Julian on the bench and the fact that we might get an injury within 5 minutes, and if he's match fit, he can step into that. We did get the injury. It was unfortunate that Beaton, who's been in some great form, limped off. I think he was stretchered into the changing room. El Hammond was chosen. Did that surprise you at that stage? Were you expecting Julien to come into the play?
I would have thought it was a no-brainer. To bring on El Hammond instead of Julien, it's making you wonder, is there still a wee injury concern that Neil Lennon just wanted to take him back, integrate him back into the squad? But to put him on the bench, you think he's got to be 100% fit.
Yeah.
And he is your centre half. You know, so that's two guys that's in front of Julian. So how does he get back into the team? Is he going to come back in on Sunday when you go up to St Johnstone?
Well, this is the thing. You think that if he's on the bench, you've got to have the confidence. That was the point that I was making. I wasn't hoping that a defender got injured. As it happened, he did. But if you put someone on the bench, there is that possibility, Stevie. You get an early injury, you're going to play virtually a whole game. That's maybe in the back of Lenny's mind. But then, as you say, if that is the case, he's not going to be fit enough for the weekend's game either.
And again, if you're going to do that and he's not 100% fit, so if El Hamid gets injured, do you then have to go to a 4? Are you going to change your whole formation because you put a guy on the bench who's not 100% fit that you're not going to trust to play?
I think you'd be forced to. You'd be forced into doing that. Now, they're a deep defensive unit. We've seen that. That was the similarity I was kind of making from last week. They seem quite content to hit us on the break. There's been a couple of breakaways. What I've been very impressed with, and we've said this a few times, Barkas, as soon as he gets that ball, he wants to distribute it. And that resulted half an hour into the game. A great counter-attacking move. Christie was pulled back. They played advantage and it broke down with Edouard. But it's a great way of counter-attacking with Barkas, isn't it?
He's very good. It goes back to even the game against Kilmarnock when he tried it and their own players told him to stop. You know, they've been told to roll the ball out. But if you're playing against a team that, if you give them a chance, they're going to get 10 men behind the ball, let's get it up early. Let's get them turning, facing their own goal, and it gives you a chance to get in front of them. And not everybody's going to be able to run faster than the ball.
No, you know, the best chance I think came about 39 minutes into the game. Christie to Edouard ended up well, Yunusi. It was an excellent chance, well crafted out. And it goes back to the point that you made about Christie. You know, he's tried back heels, have not came off. He's tried the final ball that he played just before half time. It ended up going out to play. But I think he's the type of player that will continue to try that, Stevie, and it might just come off. It almost did when it fell to the feet of El Yunusi.
I think you've got to have a wee bit different. If you've got a playmaker, Ryan Christie's a playmaker, you've got to have somebody that's going to try just know the safe pass. If he plays safe passes, you're always going to play in front of him. But we've got to try and get in behind him, get them turning, get the ball in the box. It can be anything. You've seen this new handball rule. Anything can happen that takes you through in this next round. We need to be in that position.
Let's have a wee look at some of the points coming through on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube as well. Stephen T via YouTube says that I'd sub Ryan World Cup Willie Christie and get Turnbull or Ncham on. Stevie, would you make any further changes at this stage?
No. I think it's too important. How physical they are, you know, if you pick up another injury before the 60 minute, you could leave yourself short.
This is the problem. And, you know, it's not really Lenny's MO. He has done it in the past, but half-time changes aren't something that we're used to seeing from Neil Lennon. A few comments are coming in relation to Christie. John McKay. Christie clearly thinks he's a player. So do I. Stevie.
Well, if you're getting linked with these moves to the Premier League, there's a lot of people think Ryan Christie's a player.
Well, there is. And I think when we're trying to look at, he's lost the ball a few times, but don't write him off at this stage because he's the type of player who will play that killer pass into Edouard, El Yunusi, and create something out of nothing. So I take your point, John. He does look confident. He does go for glory quite a bit. We've seen that all season, Stevie. But again, we're looking at a situation tonight where against Riga before, about the only thing we did in the first half was a long-range effort from Ncham. It's looking that tight at the moment. It's basic tactics, it's fundamental defending, but if they're organised enough with the roughhouse tactics that we've seen a wee bit, we could be facing down the same kind of situation 10 minutes to go tonight.
Well, you look at the same with Ryan Christie. The goal last week against Riga, he causes that. He had a great through ball. Tonight the best chance is him to Edouard to Elyounoussi. So he's creating your chances. You know, the other guys are playing safe. Nobody's commenting on them because they're playing safe, but they're creating absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
You know, so I think you've got to give Ryan Christie a wee chance, you know, and give him a wee G up, you know, and encourage him to do better.
Kevin Selt, listening on the radio, says sideways mistake, sideways sloppy. Be careful with the use of the word sloppy because Jurgen Klopp doesn't like it. I'm not sure about the Lurgan Klopp, but backwards back pass, sideways sloppy. I think when you're coming up against that bank of defenders, Stevie, and even when the ball is getting stretched and it's going to the wings, Frimpong and Taylor are getting some rough kind of treatment as well, aren't they?
But I think it's maybe what we're lacking, excuse me, I certainly didn't think Stephen Fletcher was the answer. But I think sometimes in games like this, you're missing a guy like Chris Sutton or John Hartson that you can just put the ball into the middle who's going to create a lot of chances. We've got Eddie and we've got Elyounoussi. You're not going to just be able to hit the ball for like Shane Duffy up to them. They're going to create a bit of controversy and win headers. Everything's got to be to feet. So when your fullbacks are even going wide and they're looking up, would you have the greatest confidence of putting the ball into the box and thinking we've got somebody in the box who's going to win the headers? They might win a header occasionally, but they're not going to win it the way a Larson or a Sutton or a Hartson would.
I think that's the main difference really between, we talk about Edouard and Dembele and how great a partnership they would have been. Undoubtedly they would have been. But that was one of the threats that Dembele certainly had, wasn't it? The aerial prowess that he had in situations like this.
Dembele was different class, absolutely different class, as you showed. As soon as he became available, he was away. We've been talking about Eddie forever. We need to get him in the game. And I know it's very early, but I think Neil would have to be thinking about linking Griff with Eddie as the game went on. And just to get Griff up, annoying people. I think Elyounoussi moving about well. He's looking a threat occasionally, and he's had the best chance in the first half. Griff would give you something different. And at this stage, if he's fit, I would have him on before I'd have Klimala.
No, I would agree with that because the game is going down that kind of route. We were speaking about, if we're at 0-0 with a quarter of the game to go, it gets to that stage, Stevie. So I totally agree with that. Kevin Graham comments that not much is happening in the final third. We're not doing what we are good at, but not doing much wrong. Would you agree with that?
Kevin's 100% correct with that comment. But if you have to get through, and this is a one-off game, we need to do more right. And the stats for possession are all great. Very far rush with 62 shots and goal. We went out. We need to get a goal. And to get a goal, you've got to do something, which means you either shoot or you get the ball away earlier. You can't keep playing in front of them.
Stevie Ray, welcome to the show. Stevie, you're commenting via YouTube. We've got a couple of minutes to go before we get back into the second half. Easy tactics by the opposition. Double up on the wide men and let Brown have the ball, knowing he'll create. Hee-haw. Brown gets a lot of the ball. He plays a lot of short passes. It's kind of going back to what you were saying. Christie tries the risky pass.
But Scott Brown, if you're looking for me, Scott Brown is the guy who gets the ball and he passes it to Callum McGregor or Ryan Christie to create something. I'm not expecting Scott Brown to create anything. If he does, it's an absolute bonus to us. But if he's sitting in front of the back three, his job is to marshal that and pass the ball. If he can bypass one of them to go wide, great, you're up a wee bit. I'm not expecting Scott Brown to play great passes through defence splitting passes.
I said to you half an hour into the game, Stevie, that was a quick half hour. Well, that's also been a quick half-time break. The last comment coming in from Fat Boy Slim, we will score. I like that optimism.
I certainly hope so.
I hope so, but we will be back regardless at the end of this game for our full-time reaction. Please enjoy the second half and thanks for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind.